I've always thought it's better to use images of real life as building references in Minecraft rather than screenshots of in-game builds, for a number of reasons. But do those things still apply to traditional art as a reference? Maybe it differs from person to person, but either way I wanted to test it out. So I looked around on the internet for 3 distinct pieces of art to use as concept art for my Minecraft build renditions. The first will be the easiest, then a more detailed one, and finally one that I think will be the most difficult to translate into Minecraft form. First is this little stone house I found on a website called renderhub.com by Art Teeves. This one should be the easiest for a few reasons. It's small, there's only a few colors, and it's 3-dimensional, so we get all the angles. Alright, I've got my base template with just shapes in mind. Now all I gotta do is add colors. I'm looking at this, I think, for the corner walls here, definitely mud and granite. I would use brick, but I want to use brick for the top here since it's a more saturated red, but I might still throw some in there, we'll see. The walls are definitely gonna have to be sandstone. It looks pretty smooth. Now the door takes up a lot more space vertically than just the normal door would take up, so I'm gonna put a trap door here, as well as, oops, that. Definitely want to take a look at this roof here. Now it slants up, but it's kind of at like it's not a perfect linear slant. So let's see what we can do there, try to emulate that a little bit. Kind of sad there's no smooth sandstone wall. That would certainly be helpful here. Right around here it becomes a thinner deal. That goes above the roof, actually. Something like that. Looking at this roof, it's much steeper. I would say even that steep. This does look strange on such a small scale, I will not lie. I'm not sure if this is really in like the spirit of the challenge or whatever I'm doing, but I think it would look nice, so I'm gonna add the border with fences here and display entities. There we have it. I think that's pretty much about as detailed as I can get with this thing. Again, this is the simple one. I think it looks alright. Let's move on to a slightly more difficult build. The next piece of concept art is this lovely little house in the forest by Marina Vereshchagina. I picked this partly just because it's pretty, but also because there's clearly a lot more detail going on, both in shapes and materials. For these front blocks, I think calcite's definitely a good call. I'm looking at this concept art a little more closely now, and I would maybe like to add like some sort of support right there, and then have the roof come down on top of it. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is actually raise this guy by 1, then I can have you come down here. That looks good. This build, honestly, as simple as that one was, this is more in my area of expertise when it comes to Minecraft build themes in general. Hopefully I don't eat my words later, but even though this is more complicated, I think it should be not necessarily easier, but at least like, you know, more fun. It looks like there are little attic windows around here somewhere. So maybe I'll move that there and that there. That's kind of the best I can do for those little windows there. That's fine. What's a good wall for you right here? Honestly, it is kind of yellow. That was kind of by accident, but Something like that for the entrance, and then probably an oak or jungle door. I think oak color matches the best. You ever notice how oak trapdoors don't match oak doors at all? It's like the only trapdoor that does that. Kind of strange, don't you think? I think what I'll do is just that. Maybe I'll do that so I can have this triangle window kind of thing going on. Just do that for now. What about this main front wall? We've got kind of a this up to here, and then what looks like a slab sort of formation. Something like that. I would like to maybe add some of these other lines in the building. Maybe with trapdoors like that. Yeah, actually that's pretty sick. I don't know how exactly I'm going to do this semicircle window thing. What I might do is something like that, since I'm not really worrying about interiors per se. That looks nice. What about down here? We've got not quite this kind of pull, probably just one of you along with this. This looks like a good place for the old oak trap door I was just talking about, as well as some more green glass. Alright, I think that's this front wall sort of done. Let's move on to over here. I'm doing this in the weirdest order possible. It looks like this little roof section meets up right in the middle of this wall here, rather than the middle of this roof. Sure, that looks kind of dumb, but I'm going to keep it just because I like it. Let's just say the sun's coming from over there. Something like that. Let me turn off block updates so these don't fall. I just need some sort of basis to, you know, make this whole thing on. It's kind of cool. I do still need to add the little window poking out here, but I'll do that in a second. Roof looks pretty good to me. Actually, I kind of like that. Because it sort of looks like a little cross thing that comes out of the top. I'm also going to put this like that. I'm going to keep updates off so I don't accidentally have half the roof fall down. You know what, I think I'm happy with that. Alright, I think that's good for this guy. From the right angle, this looks pretty damn similar, I feel like. I've even got the little miscellaneous rocks and ground vegetation and whatnot. Finally, I chose this really cool Simple House by Max Island Art on Instagram. This last build will involve a lot more weird coloring, at least in the context of Minecraft, and my potentially lacking skills, as well as finding out how to translate some of these odd shapes into the build. By the way, shout out to this artist in particular that makes some insanely cool stuff, like right up my alley. And I urge you to check out all the artist's stuff in the links below. I've completed my wool base for this last build. I'm thinking I like it quite a bit, actually, even with just these wool colors right now. Let's start going on these real colors. Let me just start blocking out some colors here, because actually, the way this person drew this, the colors are very splotchy, and like, I mean, it's purposeful, but something to keep in mind when I'm coloring this in. It is certainly strange looking, I won't lie. Okay, this is something. It's a little bit block vomity, but I'm learning, okay? Okay, how about that for now? Let's look at some details. Or maybe I'll do this roof here first. Probably similar materials as that other roof over there. I might just grab those. I got my greens. There's this long shadow kind of going down this whole thing right here. Try to capture some of that. This little corner here is the lightest spot. Doesn't actually get that dark up there, does it? I may have to adjust and make this the darkest block. Yeah, that's not too bad, actually. That works. This actually, okay, with the roof in, this is looking a lot better. This wall is actually significantly lighter because the sun's facing it. This wall is quite large. It's going to be a challenge, I think. However, it's a challenge for another time because I have to go to work. Alright, so you saw in that that replay footage, I kind of finished pretty much all the coloring. I did go back and like mess around with, because I feel like this is too gray. My reference is clearly, there's a little more tan to it. And I think if I could get the sun to hit it right and then put on some shaders, it might work, but I don't know. I think this is alright. I did, well actually it's right there. I did mess around with a different gradient and a couple of different gradients actually, but none of them looked quite right, so. Not that this looks exactly right either. I think it looks better than those though. So with that out the way, we can start working on some details, which is actually going to be quite difficult because it's hard to see the details, but I will give it a go. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's done. I'm actually pretty happy with this. This is a fun building. This would be fun to build in survival, I think. Anyway, let's go back through all the builds so far. So here's where we started. Humble beginnings, to be sure. With this 3D model. It's very small, not a lot of detail on the walls. And this was my Minecraft rendition. I think it turned out alright. The small factor, well, it made it like faster to build. It did make some of the stuff harder. Some stuff that I didn't really like how it turned out, like this. I got these little wood trims just to add some depth. But I think it matches alright. Next up we got this house in the woods kind of thing. But I think actually this might be my favorite of the recreations. I was able to fit so much more detail than this one, just because it's a little bit larger. And, you know, this is more of my building style when it comes to actual builds I would make, survival or not. I like the green roof. There's lots of color in here. The foliage makes it look a little more alive. And finally, we come to this rather monstrous build, compared to the other ones anyway. Of all the wool rough drafts I had, this one looks the coolest. So I guess that's something to give it. I love the artwork. This is probably my favorite of the artworks that I recreated. The environment's so cool. You can see like the wyverns or whatever those are flying around. There's like a big structure in the back, shrouded in mist. Actually, there's two. And then there's this as well, which the shapes translate pretty well into Minecraft. The colors I struggled with, for sure. I like these two roofs, especially this one. It's just mostly this wall face right here that I couldn't quite get right. I would have liked to make it a little more tan or brighter, but I couldn't find the blocks for it. There was also the detail part was a little more difficult, just because these walls are so flat, and you know, there's not as much to pick out of the drawing as maybe compared to this one. I think the colors are really the main eye catcher here though, anyway. So there you have it. That's my best attempt at recreating art I found on the internet in Minecraft build form. It's actually quite a lot of fun. I'd be down to do this again if people like it. So let me know if you'd want to see more of these videos. And also maybe let me know of some artists or something that make cool things for me to turn into builds as well. Like and subscribe and such. All of the art I shamelessly stole will be in the description, as well as the artists, so make sure to check them out. That's all I got.